Welcome to our webinar, Red Raider Orientation Holds. What are they and how can we remove them? We're excited to have all of you joining us today. My name is Christine with Parent and Family Relations, and joining us are Zach Manning from Orientation Services, Kelsey Sierra from the Office of the Registrar, Pat McConnell from the Academic Testing Center, Christy Fonseca Williams from TSI Advising, Amanda Garcia from Student Health Services, and Emma Peach from University Student Housing. We also have some folks behind the scenes to help answer your questions. This webinar is part of our Red Raider Family webinar series, where we share information on topics of interest to parents, families, and supporters of our students. We hope this webinar will help you support your new Red Raider as they prepare for orientation this summer and take the steps they need to ensure a smooth advising and class registration process. We plan to keep the webinar to about 30 minutes or so. If there's time at the end, we'll open it up for questions using the Zoom Q&A feature. We are recording this session and posting it to our website so that you'll be able to review it again later or share with others, including your student. I'll also email the recording link to the email that you used when you registered for the webinar. Now, during this webinar, you'll see a number of QR codes and links. We will also include all of those in your follow-up email as well. So let's go ahead and get started with Zach Manning, who will talk a little bit about Red Raider orientation and what holds are.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we do want to talk about those holds and how your students need to get those removed as soon as possible, if not before their Red Raider orientation, to make sure that they are better suited to be successful and have a seamless experience during Red Raider orientation. So a few of the things that we're going to talk about today include the Texas Success Initiative, otherwise known as TSI, and we'll hear about how to check compliance and then submit proper documents if you are not yet compliant, if your student is not yet compliant. Also for immunizations, how to submit those records to the MedProctor app. And then our orientation modules. Those will become available to your students on April 15th. So they will have plenty of time prior to their Red Raider orientation to complete that. That's about 60 to 90 minutes worth of content. So they have ample time to complete that, gain that information and that knowledge about resources prior to attending Red Raider orientation. Another piece of the puzzle that we'll need to make sure is cleared away is Texas Tech housing and making sure that they are signed up with that as soon as possible. So as we get started, again, we are so excited that your student is going to be a Red Raider, and we want to support you and your students through this process. So please, you'll see our contact information. Please reach out with any questions you have about Red Raider orientation. With that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about test optional. So a number of your students might have applied to Texas Tech University in a test optional manner. That means that they did not submit SAT or ACT scores in order to be admitted. That, however, does not impact their ability to be compliant with TSI. So your student may have been accepted test optional, but we do need their test scores in order to meet TSI compliance. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Kelsey, who is in our registrar's office, who's going to talk a little bit more about how to ensure that your student is compliant with TSI.
Thanks, Zach. So as you mentioned, I'm with the Office of the Registrar and the TSI compliance portion of it. So I'm just going to go over our holds real quick before I get into how your student could maybe be exempt from having to take the TSI. So if your student doesn't have a TSI hold on their account, that means your student is TSI compliant, meaning we have either SAT, ACT, college courses, whatever, to be compliant. So they're good to go. We don't need anything else from you. If the student has a TSI hold that says needs, like it'll say needs all, needs math, needs ELAR, that means we need something like an exemption or we need those TSI scores. And then if it says TSI development required, that means we have the TSI scores for that student. They're just below the state requirement, which is okay. That student will enroll in development courses at Tech, and that will happen at orientation. And then we'll give you some more information about those classes later on. Move on to the next slide. So TSI compliance is required prior to course registration. So just kind of make sure you get all of those documents uploaded before orientation. That way we can have that experience run smoothly. So your student may already be compliant. So if your student's compliant, there's no need to take that TSI test. So just make sure you check exemptions. You can scan that QR code on the bottom, or we'll move on to the next slide in a minute and it lists some of our exemptions there. And then just make sure you submit those documents before orientation. So it takes about 2 weeks for tech to receive documents and process them. So just make sure you do that at least 2 weeks before orientation. That way it gives us a little bit more time to process everything. And then if your student needs to take the TSI, so if it doesn't have any exemptions, just make sure you do that before orientation. That way you can get everything done and you don't have to worry about it during orientation or after orientation. So if you have any questions, you can visit our website or email us. So these are some of our exemptions. So we have SAT, ACT, STAR. We also do AP. They're not listed on there, but it's on our website. So if your student's taking an AP test, we can look at the requirements on our website for that. One note with the ACT scores, just make sure you check when your student took the ACT. So there's 2 different score requirements. So the first one is listed if they took it prior to February 15th of 2023, and that's going to be we look for that composite score. And then after February 14th, 2023, it's just we don't do the composite score anymore, and it's just the individual math, English, and reading scores that we look at. And we don't accept super scores for ACT or SAT, so just make sure you're submitting the individual scores and not the super score. And then that exemption by course credit, that's if your student's taken any dual credit classes, so dual credit English, history, political science, or math and made a D or better. Your student will be TSI compliant. We just need that official college transcript. So just make sure that college transcript is submitted. We can't accept college classes from a high school transcript. So even though it is dual credit, we still need the college transcript and not the high school one for that. And then, so those are exemptions. So if your student doesn't meet any of those exemptions, then they'll need to take the TSI test, and we'll have Pat explain how to take that TSI test.
Thank you, Kelsey. Okay, so you need to take the TSI exam. Here's a QR code that will help you and get you right to where you need to go on our website to get additional information. Next slide. Okay, the TSI assessment, there is really only one exam to meet TSI when you're doing testing, and so that's the TSI assessment. It's an untimed exam, so you basically can take as long as you need to take the exam. Therefore, you want to plan ahead so that you have this all wrapped up in plenty of time prior to the first day of RRO. TS Compliance Office will notify students which sections they need to take to be TSI compliant, and that way you can sign up for the appropriate parts. Next slide. You can contact our office at testing@ttu.e to schedule an appointment with academic testing if you're wanting to take the test on the TTU campus. So if you're local, that's an option. There's other options if you're not local and you need to take the exam in another way. The first thing you have to do is get the pre-assessment activity done. Once you're scheduled, you'll receive an email with information regarding the appointment and a link to complete the TSI pre-assessment activity. Then there is a non-refundable fee to academic testing paid through the online store. We cannot accept cash. An email with that payment link will be sent to the student once the pre-assessment is completed, and then we can start getting you scheduled for that TSI exam. When you take the exam, you are going to be required to have appropriate photo ID, which is a government ID. So therefore, you'll need your driver's license, passport, or another government ID with a current photo. Next. If you're taking off campus or you're at a different location than Lubbock and you need to get this TSI exam done, there's 2 ways to take that exam using vouchers that we can prepare here at Academic Testing. Students can take the exam as a remote session at your home through a vendor called Examity, or you can take a remote session at another university or college selected by Academic Testing. We have several different colleges and universities that work with us to do remote testing. It's best when you use a voucher because our office is is actually notified as soon as it's completed, and therefore we can report that score to the TSI office for you within 2 business days. Next. For either of the options, you just go to our website, academic testing website, and fill out an off-campus voucher request from this link. Then again, you're going to have this pre-assessment activity to complete, and we'll send the payment link and create the appropriate voucher based on the student selection. If you're going to test in person near you, academic testing will select the closest remote site to you and prepare the voucher for that institution. If you do not use a remote voucher and you choose to go to another university or college campus that is not one of our remote sites, remember that it is your responsibility to get those TSI scores to the registrar's office. Next. And then I'll turn this over to Christy for TSI support courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Hi, everyone. So for those TSI support courses, so after testing, students who are not college ready in any of the areas will be required to attend the College Readiness TSI session at Red Raider Orientation to discuss enrolling in developmental coursework. So for the typically how it happens is during your RRO day 1, the College Readiness TSI session. This is a group session, and students will receive a paper with their TSI support course requirements to discuss with their advisor on day 2. So the student will know which courses they need to enroll in, so they can share that with their advisor. TSI coursework, I'm so sorry. There we go, thank you. TSI coursework holds will go into place 2 weeks after Red Raider orientation. This allows the student to meet with the academic advisor and register for the appropriate coursework and TSI support course. Now, if the student during that time or any time passes that TSI required exam, then they can withdraw from the course and they can actually drop the course and will not be required to take the any of the TSI support courses. So if you need to retake the TSI exam or you need some study materials to help you prepare for that TSI exam, use that QR code, but be on the lookout for some virtual test prep TSI jumpstart options during the summer.
Hi, my name is Amanda Garcia. I am the Student Assistant Director here at Student Health Services, and I'm here to talk to you about the immunization hold that we apply. If your student is 21 years of age and younger, this is applied to their account. It is a hold place because at this time, the Texas Senate Bill 1107 requires all students entering an institution of higher education, either public or private, to receive a vaccination against bacterial meningitis or meet certain criteria for declining such a vaccination. Texas Tech University requires proof of vaccination prior to registering for classes. For the first time extensions, they can be requested and those will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But in every instance, the student must provide their vaccination record prior to the state mandated, which is a deadline of 10 days prior to their first day of classes. If your student is 22 years and older, they're considered age exempt. And so they will not have that hold placed on their account. So how do you remove this hold? You can go to our website, which is going to be in the chat, and under immunizations and then new patients, there will be a video for you to watch that will walk you through how you sign up for our third-party vendor, which is called MedProctor. You'll watch the MedProctor video. You'll create an account, you'll upload your immunization records. We only need that one vaccination record, proof of vaccination. This is a third-party vendor, so just be sure that you are reading carefully. This should be at no cost to you or your student. So please just be sure you follow the instructions. Once records have been verified to meet the requirements, and the hold will be removed within 24 hours. If you have any issues with the website, there is a live chat on MedProctor, but you can also contact our office. Our patient service specialists all have admin rights. So you could upload it, you could give us a call, and we could verify it right then and there if you are in a time crunch. But we are able to answer any of your calls. Your students will be receiving a weekly email if this hold is still applied to their account up until the first day of classes, and then they will receive emails after as well, just reminding them that this hold is not taken care of. Just like any hold, they will not be able to add or drop any classes until this requirement has been met. So that concludes my information about the student health hold, which is the immunization hold. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to call us or send some messages in the chat. I'll turn it over to Emma. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Peach. I'm the section coordinator at the Welcome Center under University Student Housing. So we'll be talking about your housing hold, what that looks like, how to get rid of it. So something that you should have probably already heard about in your journey with Texas Tech is that we do have a first-year residency requirement. Now that means that all students in their first year to Texas Tech, whether they be fresh out of high school, coming to college for the first time, or if they've been at another university or community college and they already have college credit under their belt, everyone in their first year to Texas Tech is required to live on campus for that first year. So for those first 2 semesters. So that is a very important thing. We know that it, it just aids your students in their adjustment to college life. So we love welcoming your students to campus. And this does present itself in the form of a hold on your student's account until one of 2 things is completed. So first thing you can do to get rid of that housing hold is to sign up for housing. We opened housing sign up for everyone back in December for the fall of 2024. So it is open and available now. It's a completely online process. So go in, do applications, submit deposits, sign your contract, and then housing is self-select at this point. So definitely encourage your student, if they have not already, go in and get that taken care of, because they will never have more options than they do right now. It's all on our website, housing.ttu.edu. So that is option number 1 to get rid of your housing hold. Option number 2, if you feel like living on campus just is not going to be the right thing for your student, we do offer exemptions on a case-by-case basis. It is an application process, so it is kind of an extra step that you would need to take. But we offer multiple options for this. As you can see on the screen, the most popular one that we get a lot is if your student has 30 plus post high school credit hours. So it can't be concurrent hours or dual credit hours from high school, but if they have 30 plus post high school credit hours, then they can send us their transcripts and we'll look at that and qualify them for an exemption. We've got other ones, medical exemption, financial hardship. If you live within 60 miles of campus and your student's going to stay with you as their legal guardian, they can do that. But again, that is an application that would need to be submitted. That one, you would need a notarized form that can be found on our website. So multiple options for exemptions, but it would be something to look into and make sure that you are approved for. We always want to emphasize that you should not be signing any off-campus leases until an exemption has been approved by our office. Otherwise, you will still be held financially to your housing contract. So those are the 2 things you can do to go ahead and take care of that housing hold. This is a QR code for our website, so you can go there to sign up for housing. It's super simple and user-friendly. It'll just be on the sign up for housing button on the very top of our screen. And then if you wanted to look into those exemption options, they would be under the off-campus eligibility tab. So that is all I have for housing, but if you have any questions, me and Keandra are on here answering your questions today, and then we are open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday at the Welcome Center.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. We do have time to answer some of your questions. So please do use the Q&A feature of Zoom and type your questions in, and we will get to them either behind the scenes, or we may talk about some of them out loud and live for you. While you're thinking about your questions, there's one question that we got a little bit earlier, and I would like to ask this of our orientation professional on the call, Zach. Families are wanting to know exactly where does their student find out if they have a hold? Where can they find that information out?
Yeah, so I know Miguel answered that in the question there, but as your students are logging into the orientation system, there is a page that has the questionnaire. It'll have their student information that will list all of their holds. And so they can access that through the orientation system. I think Miguel just put that there in the chat also for you. So students can log in there. Also through the RadarLink portal. And I know you're going to hear about a lot of different portals that have the word Radar in it. But RadarLink is another option to look at those different holds that your student has. I definitely recommend sitting down with your student and going through that process together to make sure that they are confident and going through that with you, so you can both make sure that all those holds are being taken care of. Another question that came up, I saw there in the chat just now about where will students stay during orientation. Every student has a room already reserved for them in the Hewlin Clement Resident Hall. So that's where they'll stay during orientation. It's a good practice run for what life is going to be like in the fall. So students don't need to register for anything additional. They already have a room waiting for them during Red Raider orientation. Parents and family members, however, you'll need to book a room at a local hotel or Airbnb or VRBO, whichever works best for you. We do have some special rates on our website where you can look to get a room through those hotels that are sponsors of ours.
Here's a question, and this would be something for our TSI folks. But where do we submit the information on SAT scores not previously provided in order to address TSI requirements?
Yes, so SAT scores will need to be sent from College Board. So I think it's collegeboard.com. And then for dual credit classes, that college transcript would need to be sent from that college. So whichever college is partnered up with that high school, you can just get in contact with them and they'll send it to tech.
Thank you. And then here's one for housing. If you've already completed the housing application, they know that students can change their room selection, but is there a way to change answers to the application questions? Can that application be changed at this point?
Yes and no. So I'm assuming they're asking about maybe the like emergency contact info and stuff like that, because those are the kind of preliminary questions that are on the application. You should be able to go back in there and access that. If not, you can contact our office and we can see about what we can change on the back end of your application.
All right, and this question has been answered in the chat, but often if someone asks a question, others may have the same one. So Amanda, can you describe the immunization? Is it a one shot? Is it a multi-shot? Which shot do they actually need to fulfill that meningitis requirement?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually require that we do not accept the meningitis B series because we are actually looking for the meningitis vaccine that contains group A, C, Y, and W. So if they go to our website, it gives you more information, but we don't accept the meningitis B.
Thank you. Keep those questions coming. Here's one. Does the academic orientation hold refer to the need to attend RRO? I know Zach talked about this, but
Yeah, and great question, Otis. And thank you for asking that. So yeah, each student does have an academic orientation hold that is automatically added to their account when they are admitted to Texas Tech University. So they do need to sign up for and attend a Red Raider orientation, and they need to complete those modules. So again, those modules will open up on April 15th. So if they have registered for orientation, they're good to go right now. But then when April 15th, they'll get an email saying those modules have opened. Encourage them to take care of those before their orientation. Then that hold will be automatically removed at orientation once your student attends and completes their modules. Great question, Otis. Thank you.
Let's see. Here's a question, and it's really about the housing application. It says after the housing application, it still says continue. Will this be changed to complete, and when does that happen?
Yeah, I was just typing on that one. You beat me to it. So it should say you're completed after deposits have all come through, after the contract's been signed, dining plan's been selected, room's been selected. If that is all taken care of, you should see a confirmation screen. It'll show you everything that you've selected, and it will show you your roommate's information. After that, you should see a button that says save and continue. And once you click on that, it'll show on our side that your application is completely taken care of and done. So if you've gone through all of those steps and you're still not seeing that last save and continue button, go ahead and give our office a call, because we may be missing an application fee, or we may be missing a check on the contract acknowledgement. So go ahead and give us a call if you're running into anything like that, and we can double check for you.
All right, housing, stay on the line here. Here's another question. Someone's asking about how do students select rooms? For instance, is it recommended based on major? This might be an opportunity to talk about learning communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't do any kind of roommate matching at Texas Tech, but we do offer learning communities as a kind of alternative. So what that means is you'll have a block of rooms, or a floor, or an entire building even, where we have it set aside kind of for students in the same field of study or the same major. So our system connects with the Office of the Registrar and with admissions systems. And so it will kind of catch, hey, your student is an agriculture major. He can live in the 3rd floor of Murdo, where that learning community is, and so on and so forth. It will only show you the things that your student is eligible to reside in. So it's all self-select, like I said. If your student has a roommate in mind, like a friend from high school that's also coming to Texas Tech, we just recommend they get on at the same time and see what rooms are showing available to both of them, and then find rooms that have 2 empty bed spaces. So you can see room 101 has bed spaces A and B available. So I'm going to select A. Why don't you go in 10 minutes and select B? So that's how students can live together without having any kind of roommate matching system.
And then a question, again, has been answered in chat, but I'm sure other people may be thinking about this as well. How do students change their meal plan if they need to? Maybe they selected one when they were filling things out, but then they need to change it. How does that work?
So meal plans, housing and hospitality are 2 different departments at Texas Tech, but we do have the same contracts. So that's why you select dining and housing at the same time. If you need to change your dining plan after the fact, there is a tab on the hospitality services website. That's I believe it says dining plan change request form. So you can do that, or prior to move in, we can also change that manually if you wanted to send us an email, and our advisors can go back in. But the easiest way would be to fill out that form on the hospitality website.
Perfect. And we have one last question here. I'll go ahead and answer it. For those of you who maybe joined us a little bit late, yes, this presentation is being recorded, and we will make it available to you this afternoon. You will be emailed with a link to it, and all of the links that we discussed during this presentation, and we'll post it and the slides on our website a little bit later. So we are at time. So thank you all for joining us. We are going to stop the recording and we'll stay on just for a few more minutes. If you have any more questions you'd like to type in that Q&A. I do have on our screen here all of our contact information. Should you need it, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And again, all of these links and all this information will be provided to you later this afternoon via email. So thanks to all of our presenters and thank you all for joining us.